Hello and welcome back to Fleming's Math. Today we're covering Algebra 1, Day 1 on graphing in slope-intercept form. All right, let's go through these notes, identifying slope and y-intercept. An equation written in the form y equals mx plus b is called slope-intercept form. So let's just fill that in, slope-intercept form. All right, the m in the equation, that's the m right next to the x, the m in the equation stands for the slope, and the b in the equation stands for the y-intercept. Okay, being able to identify both of these items is the first step in graphing lines in slope-intercept form. Let's try this. We have y equals 1/2 times x minus 5. M is the number in front of the x. That is 1/2. And b is what's being added or subtracted after the x. So that's minus 5 or negative 5. All right, the next one we have y equals negative 2 times x plus 3. M is the number in front of the x, or the number multiplying the x. That's negative 2. And b is what's being added after the x. That is the positive 3. Next, let's look at an example on graphing in slope-intercept form. Graph the following equation. Y equals 2/3 times x minus 2. Step 1, we want to identify the slope and the y-intercept. M, as you remember, is the number that's multiplying the x. So m is 2/3. B is what's being added or subtracted after the x. That's negative 2. All right, now we go to step 2. Plot the y-intercept of the y-axis, on the y-axis. All right, so the y-intercept is negative 2. That's the b value. That is on the y-axis at this location. So plot your first point here at negative 2. All right, the next step. Step 3, use the slope to create 2 more points. Now, our slope was 2/3. What that means is from the y-intercept here at negative 2, we're going to go up 2 and then over to the right 3. So that's our rise. The rise is up 2, and then the run is over to the right 3. So up 2 and over 3. And that gives us our second point. Now, if we repeat that process, go up 2 again, and then over 3, then we have a third point. And you can continue to do that to create as many points as you need. We can also go backwards. We can go down 2 and to the left 3 to generate additional points. All right, once you have 2, 3, or 4 points, then you can just draw a line, a straight line, through those points. And that is the graph of this equation. All right, we have 2 additional examples. Graph the following linear equations. The graph on the left is y equals 1/4 times x minus 3. Let's zoom in on this area. The first thing you want to do is identify your slope m, and m is the number that's multiplying the x, so m is 1/4. Next we identify b, which is our y-intercept. b is the number that's being subtracted after the x, so that is negative 3. So m is 1/4, that's our slope. b is negative 3, and that is our y-intercept. The next thing we do is to plot negative 3 on the y-axis. So negative 3 on the y-axis would be here at this location. Next, we find additional points by using our slope. Now our slope is 1/4. The 1 on the top tells us to go up 1, and the 4 on the bottom tells us to go to the right 4. So that's up 1 and to the right 4. So here we go. Starting at our y-intercept, we're going to go up 1 and to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have our second point. Let's repeat that. Go up 1 and over to the right 4. And we have a third point. Now all we have to do is to draw a straight line through these 3 points. All right, and there you have it. That is the graph of this linear equation. All right, in this equation we have y equals x minus 4. Now, when you don't see a number in front of the x, by default it means 1 is being multiplied by the x. So we can say that this is actually y equals 1 times x minus 4. M is the number multiplying the x, so m is 1. That's your slope. Now we want to write that as a fraction. 1 is the same thing as 1 divided by 1, or 1 over 1. This is going to be important later because our slope is rise over run, so we know we're going to be going up 1 and over 1. All right, b is the y-intercept, and that is the number that's being subtracted after the x. So that is going to be negative 4. All right, so b, our y-intercept, is negative 4. So we go over here to the graph, and we find negative 4 on the y-axis. So our first point would be here at negative 4 on the y-axis. Our slope is 1, which is 1 over 1. So we will start at our y-intercept of negative 4, and we will go up 1 and then to the right 1, and that's a second point. Repeat that process. Go up 1 and then to the right 1, and we have a third point. Repeat that process again. Go up 1 and to the right 1, and we have a fourth point. All right, that is enough for us to draw the line. So our line is just going to be going through these 4 points. And that is the graph of this equation. All right, continuing on the next page, we have y equals negative x plus 3. M is the number that is multiplying the x, and that's going to be negative 1. 3 is what's being added to the x, so that's b. All right, now b is 3, and that is our y-intercept. So our first point is going to be at 3 on the y-axis, which is at this location. All right, our slope is negative 1, but we always want to write it as a fraction, so that's the same thing as negative 1 over 1. The negative 1 on the top tells us to go down 1, and the 1 on the bottom tells us to go to the right 1. So let's start at our y-intercept here at 3. We're going to go down 1 and then to the right 1. Okay, so down 1 and to the right 1, and that is our second point. Let's repeat that process. Go down 1 and then to the right 1. And we have a third point. If you want to go one more, go down 1 and to the right 1. We have our fourth point. Now draw a straight line through these points. All right, next one. Y equals negative 1/2 times x plus 2. M is the number that's multiplying the x, so m is negative 1/2. B is the number being added to the x, so b is positive 2. Positive 2 represents our y-intercept, so we go to the y-axis and plot our first point here at 2. Our slope is negative 1/2. Let's take the 1 to be considered as negative. The 2 is actually positive. So we have negative 1 on the top that tells us to go down 1, and then the 2 tells us to go to the right 2 units. So starting at our y-intercept of 2, we're going to go down 1 and to the right 2. Down 1 and to the right 2. And that is our second point. Repeat the process. Go down 1 and to the right 2. And we have our third point. One more. Go down 1 again and to the right 2. And we have a fourth point. Connect those points with a straight line, and we have our graph. Here is y equals 3x minus 4. M, again, is the number that's multiplying the x, so m is 3. B is what's being subtracted from the x, so b is negative 4. And negative 4 represents our y-intercept. So we will go down to negative 4 on the y-axis for our first point. The slope is 3, but we want to rewrite that as a fraction, and that's just 3 over 1. The 3 on the top tells us to go up 3, and the 1 on the bottom tells us to go to the right 1. So let's do that. Starting at our y-intercept, we go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over to the right 1, and that is a second point. Repeat that process. Go up 3 and to the right 1, and we have another point. Let's do it one more time. Up 3 to the right 1, and that is our fourth point. Let's go ahead and draw a line, a straight line through these points. And there's our graph. Alright, hopefully you're getting the hang of this. In this equation we have y equals negative 2/3 times x plus 4. M is negative 2/3 and b is positive 4. The positive 4 is on the y-axis. That's where our first point is going to be here at 4. The negative 2/3 is going to tell us to go down 2 and then to the right 3. So we go down 2 and then to the right 3 for our second point. Repeat the process. Go down 2 again and then to the right 3. Alright, and those 3 points should be enough. Go ahead and just draw a straight line through these 3 points. Here we have y equals x minus 6. Let me straighten this back out again. All right, we have y equals x minus 6. It's understood that there is a 1 in front of the x, so m is 1, and b is negative 6. Negative 6 is our y-intercept. So we go down to negative 6 on the y-axis. That's our first point. Now our slope is 1, which can be written as 1 over 1. So that means we start here at negative 6 and we're going to go up 1 and to the right 1 for our second point. Repeat the process and go up 1 and to the right 1 again. And let's do it one more time. Go up 1 and to the right 1 again. There are 4 points there. That should be enough. Let's go ahead and draw a straight line through those points. Alright, and then for our last one, y equals negative 3 times x plus 5. M is the number multiplying the x, so m is negative 3, which we will write as negative 3 over 1. The 5 is b. And that, of course, is our y-intercept. So we're going to start with our first point at 5 on the y-axis, and that would be this point here. Our slope is -3, or -3/1. So from this point, we're going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then to the right 1, and that's where our second point will be. Repeat the process. Go down 3 and to the right 1. And that is our third point. We could do one more. We could go down 3 and over to the right 1 again. Alright, so we've got our 4 points here. Let's just draw a straight line through those. Alright, and that concludes this lesson on graphing slope-intercept form equations.